All right, secondary math 2 class, we are going to be building on what we talked about last time. Okay, so we are still working with distributing. Okay, the distributive property. So let's go ahead and just define what are we actually doing when we are asked to distribute. Okay, what are we doing when we're distributing? Are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? We are multiplying. Okay, so whenever it tells you to distribute something, it means we are multiplying. Okay, so on 1 through 4, let's write down some steps for simplifying these expressions. Okay, so our first step is going to be to distribute. Okay, we must distribute before we do our second step, which is to combine like terms. Okay, so make sure those two steps are written on your paper. That is how we are going to simplify these first expressions on our notes, okay, 1 through 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice this. Okay, so on number 1, what is the number that we need to distribute? What is the number that's right in front of the parentheses that we need to distribute into the parentheses? Okay, right here, what is that number? It's going to be -1, right? Okay, so this -1, we need to distribute before we can combine like terms. So we are going to ignore this -x for a second. Okay, we're going to ignore that until we get to the second step. Okay, so let's go ahead and distribute. So we have -1 times x, which is just going to give us -1x, or -x. Okay, our next step is going to be -1 times -5. So what is -1 times a -5? A negative times a negative will be a positive. So +5. Okay, so we distributed. We did our first step. Now we can go ahead and combine like terms. This is where that piece that we ignored, we can bring down in order to combine like terms. Okay, so now, what are my terms here that I can combine? What are my like terms? So I have a -x, so I'm looking for another x. Where's my other x? Right here, right? So I have -1x, and I'm taking 1 more x away. So what is -1 minus 1? That's going to give me -2x. Okay, so we combine -x and -x to give me -2x. And then I cannot combine this 5 with anything, so we simply write it next to it. Okay, those guys are not like terms because one of them has the x and one of them does not. So that is as simplified as it'll go. Okay, let's look at number 2. So what is the number that is going to distribute in here? What's the number that's right in front of the parentheses? Again, it is -1. That is the number that is going to distribute or multiply into our parentheses. So we're going to go ahead and ignore this piece for now. We are going to distribute first. Okay, so we have -1 times 7b. What is -1 times 7? It's going to give me -7, and there was 1b being multiplied, so -7b. Okay, then I have -1 times +5. That is going to give me -5. Okay, so we did our first step. We distributed. Now we can go ahead and combine like terms. And this is where that little piece that we ignored can come down, because we're going to combine like terms. See what terms we can combine. Okay, so looking at this expression right here, where are my like terms? What terms can I combine? Okay, I can combine 4b and -7b, or -4b and -7b, because they both have the variable. They both have b to the power of 1. Okay, so what is -4 minus 7 more? -4 minus 7. It's going to give us -11b. Okay, and since we cannot combine that -5 with anything because it does not have the b, we can just go ahead and write it next to it. Okay, they are not like terms, so that is as simplified as it'll go. Okay, let's look at number 3. Okay, so on number 3, what is the number that is going to distribute? Remember, we have to distribute before we combine like terms, so what is the number that's going to distribute? It's going to be this +7. Okay, so that's got to distribute. We're going to ignore the 1 for now. Okay, let's do 7 times 5n. What is 7 times 5? It's going to give me 35. We had 1n, so 35n. Okay, and then we have 7 times 1. It's just going to be +7. Okay, so we distributed. We got rid of our parentheses. Now we can go ahead and bring down our 1 and combine like terms. Okay, so where are my like terms on this one that I can combine? Okay, so I only see 1n right here, but then I see 1 and 7. These guys are just constants, just numbers, so we can combine those. Okay, so 1 plus 7 is going to give me 8. Okay, and the 35n can't combine, so we just do 8 plus 35n. And that is completely simplified. Okay, this is going to be our last example like these guys, then we're going to learn something new today. Okay, so what is my number that we are going to distribute? What's the number that's right in front of the parentheses? +9. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and ignore this -5n for now because we need to distribute first. Okay, so we have 9 times 7. What is 9 times 7? It's going to give me 63. Okay, then I have a 9 times -7m. So 9 times -7. So -63 with the 1m. Okay, so we distributed. Now we need to bring down our -5m so we can combine like terms. Okay, so since that was a +63, I always add that addition sign in there. Okay, so what are my terms that I can combine? What are my like terms? Okay, so I see that -5m and -63m, they both have those m's, so we can go ahead and combine those. So we get -5m minus 63m. What is that going to give me? -5 minus 63 more. -5 minus 63. It's going to give me -68m. Okay, and since we cannot combine the 63 with anything, we just write it on the end with a +63. Okay, these guys are not like terms, so that is as simplified as it'll go. Okay. So notice on 5 through 10, so we have quite a few examples here. It's asking us to find each product. So notice we don't have one thing that is right in front of our parentheses that we have to distribute. We actually have 2 things. Okay, so we are going to find each product by using FOIL. Okay, so write that out, FOIL. Okay, so on the side of our paper, let's go ahead and write what these stand for. Over here, let's do FOIL. Okay, so this is how we're going to find each product. Okay, so F stands for first. O stands for outside. I stands for inside. Sorry, I need to get a drink. And L stands for last. Okay, so we have first, outside, inside, last. Okay, so using this, we are going to find our products. Okay, so let's go to number 5. So what is our first letter in FOIL? F, which stands for first. Okay, that means our first terms. Okay, so we'll do this color for first. Okay, so our first terms in each set of parentheses is 8n and 3n. So we're going to go ahead and multiply those guys. Okay, so what is 8n times 3n? So 8 times 3 is going to give us what? What is 8 times 3? Okay, that's going to give us a 24. Okay, but how many n's do I have being multiplied? N times n. What is n times n? It's going to give us n squared. Okay, when we are multiplying these guys, whenever you're using FOIL, more times than not, okay, you're going to get something squared. N squared, x squared, whatever the variable is, squared. Okay, so that was our first term. Our next term, our O, stands for outside. Okay, so our outside terms are the ones on the outside of our parentheses, right? Or on the very edge. Call them the very edge. So we have 8n is an outside, and then negative 8 is an outside. Okay, so what is 8n times negative 8? We're doing our outside. 8n times negative 8. We get negative 64 with one n that was being multiplied, so n. Okay, so we're almost there. Our next letter in FOIL is our I. Okay, so that stands for our inside terms. So if 8n and 8 were our outside terms, that means that 2 and 3n are our inside terms. Okay, so we're going to multiply 2 times 3n. So what is 2 times 3? It's going to give us positive 6 with 1n. Beautiful. Okay, we're almost done. We have one more. L stands for last. Okay, so our last terms. Okay, this is our 2 and our negative 8. Okay, so what is 2 times negative 8? 2 times negative 8. It's going to give me negative 16. Okay, notice, you know that you've done everything if, like me, you have 2 lines under each term. Okay, that means it's been multiplied twice. Okay, beautiful. So we've done FOIL. Now our very last step is to, you guys are already so good at this, combine like terms. Okay, and if you've followed FOIL correctly, your like terms are always going to be right next to each other, right in the middle. Okay, notice we cannot combine 24n squared because I don't have any more n squareds. I only have n to the first power. Okay, so we can combine these guys. Okay, so what is negative 64 plus 6? Negative 64 plus 6. That's going to turn into a negative 58n in the middle. Okay, now let's just rewrite what was in front and back. Okay, so we have 24n squared in front and negative 16 on the end. Okay, so we're completely simplified because I have an n squared, an n, and no n. Okay. This expression right here is actually called a quadratic. Okay, so whenever you have an n squared that's leading your expression, that is called a quadratic. Okay, let's try it again. So let's go to number 6. So what is our first letter in FOIL? F, right? So our first term. So our first terms are these guys, 7x and 4x. We need to multiply our first terms. So 7x times 4x, 7 times 4 is going to give me 28. X times x is going to give me x squared. So 28x squared was our first term. Okay, our next letter in FOIL is O. That stands for outside, so 7x and negative 3. Okay, so what is 7x times negative 3? It's going to give me negative 21x. Perfect. Okay, now we have our I, which stands for our inside, so that's 5 and 4x. So we need to multiply 5 and 4x. So 5 times 4, it's going to give me positive 20 with 1x that was being multiplied. Okay, and our very last one, our L stands for last. So that is our 5 times our negative 3. Okay, so 5 times negative 3, negative 15. Beautiful. We followed FOIL. Now our very last step is to combine like terms. And if you followed FOIL correctly, you know that your like terms will always be those two terms right in the middle, right? They always have just the one variable, 1x. Okay, so what is negative 21 plus 20? Negative 21 plus 20. It's going to give me actually a negative 1 or just negative 1x. Okay, those are the only two terms that we can combine, so then bring down what's left. So we have 28x squared and negative 15. And that is our simplified quadratic expression. Okay, let's keep practicing. So our first letter in FOIL, what is our first letter? F, which stands for first. Okay, so our first terms, 2r times 5r. So what is 2 times 5? It's going to give me 10. R times r is r squared, 10r squared. Okay, our next letter in FOIL is O. So our outside, 2r times 6. Okay, 2r times 6, 2 times 6, positive 12 with the 1r, so 12r. Okay, our next letter in FOIL, inside, I, so 2 and 5r, so we have 2 times 5r, 2 times 5, 10. This time there's just the 1r, so just 10r. Okay, and our very last letter, which is L, and it stands for last. Okay, so now we have 2 times 6. What is 2 times 6? 12. Beautiful. Okay, we've used our FOIL. Now we just need to combine our like terms. Okay, where are my two like terms? They are right in the middle, this 12r and 10r. So 12 plus 10. It's going to give me 22r. Okay, and then you just bring down what's left over. So 10r squared plus 22r plus 12. And there is our quadratic expression. Beautiful. Okay, a few more times we're going to practice this. So what is the first letter in FOIL? It's F, and it stands for first. Okay, so 6k times 3k. What is 6 times 3? It's going to give me 18. K times k, or how many k's do I have being multiplied? 1, 2. So k squared. Okay, my next letter in FOIL is O. So our outside, 6k and 2. So what is 6k times 2? 6 times 2, 12 with the 1k that was being multiplied. Our next letter in FOIL, I, inside, so 1 and 3k. So what is 1 times 3k? 1 times 3 is just 3. There was 1k being multiplied, so 3k. Okay, and our very last letter in FOIL, L, which stands for last, 1 and 2. What is 1 times 2? Positive 2. Okay, we used our FOIL. Now we just need to find our like terms that we can combine. What are my like terms that I can combine? Okay, 12K and 3K. We know that they're right in the middle. Okay, what is 12 plus 3? We get 15K right in the middle. We have an 18K squared out in front plus 15K plus 2. Beautiful. Okay, 2 more examples. F in FOIL stands for first. Okay, first term, 3A times 6A. What is 3 times 6? It's going to give me 18. How many A's do I have being multiplied? 2, so A squared. Okay, my O in FOIL stands for outside, so 3A and negative 1. So 3A times negative 1. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 with the 1A. Okay, I stands for inside, negative 7 times 6A, negative 7 times positive 6A. So negative 7 times 6A, that's going to give me a negative 42A. Okay, and our very last letter in FOIL, L, which stands for last, negative 7, negative 1. Okay, negative times a negative, 7 times 1. It's going to give me positive 7. Okay, where are my like terms that I can combine? Negative 3A and negative 42A. So we're getting more negative here. So what is negative 3 minus 42 more? It's going to give me negative 45A. Okay, bring down what's left over. 18A squared. Okay, and positive 7. And there is our quadratic expression. Perfect. Last example. Okay, so we have our F in FOIL, that stands for first. So we have V times V, or 1 times 1, which is just 1. But then how many V's do I have being multiplied? 1, 2. So we have V squared. Okay, our O in FOIL stands for outside, V and 1. What is 1 times V? That is just 1V, or just V, right? We don't have to write that 1. Okay, our I in FOIL, inside, 4 times V. Okay, 4 times 1V is just 4V. And then our L, last, 4 times 1. What is 4 times 1? Just going to give me positive 4. Okay, where are my like terms that I can combine? We know that if we follow FOIL, they're always going to be right in the middle. So 1V plus 4V. So what is 1 plus 4? You get 5V. Okay, bring down what's left over. V squared, that's a positive 5V plus 4. And there is our quadratic expression. Okay, you guys, those are your notes for today. Make sure you do your assignment and click done when you are finished with that.